Missouri Sunshine Law, a copy of the full report and all the exhibits and transactions which the report was based. For reasons I don't understand, the city is refusing to give them to me, even though they have been used to support the false accusations against me contained in the Loraine report. Unfortunately, I suspected this was coming. It was quite clear to me that the investigation by Loraine was off track the first moment I met him. Finding myself in the middle of a political witch hunt, I saw no reason to get in the middle of such a situation and decided not to be part of the process. Apparently, Mr. Loraine saw it fit to equate his inability to interview me as a license to label me as a conspiratorial and unethical and report that I was involved in a conflict of interest and perhaps fraud. Nothing further from the truth. My involvement with Wallace Benjolly and the 20th Street and Connecticut project was anything but unethical or out of the ordinary for my business. All we were and are trying to do was develop a real estate project. A project that would benefit Joplin in its efforts to recover from the tornado. Before I respond to Loraine's false allegations against me, below is a timeline of my involvement in the 20th Street and Connecticut project. I'll just let you know, this is the first time I've ever done this. So this is not my comfort zone. I was first contacted by email by Mr. Gary Brown on May 27, 2011, 6 days after the tornado, to look at the buildings they lost at 20th and Connecticut. After a few other email exchanges, I met Mr. and Mrs. Brown at their former building site on June 1st, 2011 to discuss rebuilding and development options. The Brown and their other family members, the Jennings, owned over 3 acres in this area and lost 2 commercial buildings and 2 houses to the tornado. The plan was for Four States Homes to build a loft over retail development in order to replace the lost income from their former buildings. For months after the first interaction and meeting, we were working for the Browns and Jennings family on this redevelopment. The city of Joplin, for example, owned 4 parcels of access land along Connecticut adjacent to my client's land for an eventual street widening project. In October and November 2011, I had discussed with the city about the ability to acquire their pieces. Eventually, we started working on acquiring land for the Brown-Jennings project. I needed the help of a real estate agent. I called Mike Woolston. Prior to the tornado, I did not have any business dealings with Mike Woolston. I did, of course, know him in his capacity as council person because I am frequently rezoning properties for commercial projects in the city for various clients. But where I really got to know Mr. Woolston was during his time as mayor and after the tornado and my involvement in the 7 and 7 Extreme Home Makeover project. Four States Homes was a co-contractor for all 7 homes. We were intimately involved in the entire project, donating hundreds of man-hours to this very successful endeavor. It was during that project I got to know Mr. Woolston, watching him from afar and for almost a year working diligently for the betterment of Joplin after the tornado. He put his personal business and livelihood aside, focused almost 100% on Joplin. I thought that said a lot about his character. And after getting to know him better, wanted to get him involved as our agent to help acquire some additional land. Before I knew about Wallace Benjolly or about the project ideas it was pitching to the city, or certainly about any city-related project at the corner of 20th and Connecticut, Mr. Woolston negotiated a contract for the purchase of 1825 Connecticut at my request on behalf of the Brown family, who owned the adjacent land. The Browns signed a buyer's agreement contract with Mr. Woolston on February 10, 2012. At the same time, I talked to Mr. Woolston about making contact with Jim Hunter from Pro 100, who had the 1825 Connecticut property listed. The listing went into effect January 23rd, 2012. Mr. Wilson put it under contract for the Browns on February 27th, 2012. That purchase closed on May 21st, 2012, and it was the one commission that Mr. Wilson received for approximately 20 parcels that were acquired in that area. We continued our effort to acquire other properties in the area, both from the city and others. Within a few short weeks of closing on 1825 Connecticut property, I was contacted by Mrs. Brown, who had been contacted by Gary Box about selling her property at 20th Street and Connecticut area for the development of the new city library. Our first meeting with Wallace Benjali was on June 7th, 2012. About a month later, on July 2nd, Wallace Benjali signed his contracts with the city and the Redevelopment Corporation. We had 2 other meetings with Wallace Benjali before the 4th meeting on July 27, 2012, at which time Four States Homes and Wallace Benjali signed a non-binding letter of intent to develop a mixed-use project in the 20th and Connecticut area. In other words, I didn't know of Wallace Benjali or the library project until after we started working on the Brown-Jennings family development. Any suggestion that Mr. Wilson was the source of our interest in 20th and Connecticut area or area properties is just plain false. During the month of June 12th, we had multiple discussions with the Browns and Jennings about the possibility of selling or leasing their land for the library project. Obviously, this was taking their project in a completely different direction. However, they ultimately decided it would be in the best interest, including the cities, to go in that direction. After Wallace Benjali, the JRC, and the city signed their contracts, we started moving in the direction of the library mixed-use development. I and Mike Walston sat down with the city attorney, Brian Head, to tell him exactly what we were doing in interest of full disclosure, and to ask for his guidance to ensure that Mr. Walston was not engaging in any behavior that would be described as unlawful or unethical. Mr. Head told us that Mr. Wilson simply had to abstain from any vote on the city council relating to the project or to the properties we were acquiring. This advice was repeated later in the second meeting between Mr. Walston, Mr. Head, and myself. Every councilman knew that Mr. Walston was my real estate agent working in the area of 20th Street in Connecticut and other areas to acquire property for me. And relying on Mr. Head's advice, that is exactly what Mr. Walston did. Ultimately, the Browns and Jennings family acquired 4 parcels in that area and leased all the land in that area, the old and the new, to the JRC on March 1st, 2013. Following up on our letter of intent, Wallace Benjali and Four States Homes formed NewCo LLC on April 4th, 2013, which is a 50-50 partnership in developing the remaining 20th Street and Connecticut area. I or my company, Four States Homes, acquired 18 parcels of land in this area. 15 of them were sold to the JRC in July and August 2013. We still hold on to 3 of them for the simple reason that the JRC does not have the funds with which to purchase them. Most importantly, and what Mr. Loraine has completely missed or conveniently ignored, is that NewCo has a contract with the JRC to purchase the properties back from the JRC, recovering all the JRC's costs, including interest, when the development is ready to proceed. So the JRC will not lose a dime on these properties. These are more specific items I'll address below. Issue 1, the subject of the investigation. In the city's contract with Loraine, one of the issues that he was supposed to investigate was the fact, circumstance, and ethical considerations surrounding the involvement of Councilman Walston with me, Charlie Kuehn, Four States Homes, its subsidiaries and related entities, and the city's master developer, Wallace Benjali, with respect to the purchase, sales, or leasing of real estate for current or future development. City Loraine Agreement, page 1. As opposed to his charge contained in City Loraine Agreement, Loraine decided to perform an apparent investigation of ethical considerations involving a member of the public, me. In his report, as opposed to his contract, Loraine says that the issue he was investigating was the fact, circumstance, and ethical and legal considerations surrounding council member Mike Woolston, Charlie Kuehn, owner-operator of Four States Homes, its subsidiaries and related entities. The City of Joplin chosen master developer, Wallace Benjali, Loraine Report, page 8. This is a subtle but very important difference. Either Loraine was directed or chose on his own to deviate from his contract directive, which focused on Mr. Woolston and his interactions with me, to an investigation of Mr. Woolston, Wallace Benjali, and me, to investigate a member of the public, whether me or someone else, is simply a misuse of public funds. But what makes it worse is that Loraine used that different directive to defame me and my company. Issue 2, the JRC. Mr. Loraine has completely distorted or uninformed ideas of what the JRC is or does. The JRC was formed in 2000, long before the Joplin tornado. It is a private corporation separate from the city, a fact lost on Loraine. Separate from Wallace Benjali and certainly separate from me. Neither Wallace Benjali nor Four State Homes has any representation on the JRC board. The JRC was again made active after the tornado. The JRC, along with the city master developer, Wallace Benjali, are proceeding with city and JRC approved redevelopment plans, including the number 20.